Have you asked yourself this question? Why do some people get noticed and others with the same skill or even better get ignored? Now, that answer always comes down to one thing: personal brand. Whether you're trying to build a new business, launch a new product, or even trying to get better clients, personal brand is what people remember about you when you're not in the room. In this episode, we'll be talking about personal brand, what you need to know about it, and how to build one. My name is Plati Shaku. I'm a content creator and a coach. I will be breaking down personal brand. Now, let's start by talking about what personal brand isn't. Now, when I listen to people talk about personal brand, I hear them talk about logos, aesthetics, colors. Now, I know that's very important. However, I think personal brand goes way beyond that. Now, think about your favorite movie, right? The character, the main character. Why do you connect with them so much? Is it because of the clothes they're wearing or the haircuts? Probably not. It's because of the story, right? The story that the movie tells about this person. That's what draws you in. And in reality, it's probably because their story connects with you in some certain way. Now, that's the same way personal brand connects with other people. Now, when people see you online or when you show up whatever platform, be it YouTube, Instagram, or whatever platform that you show up on, when people see you, they are drawn to your story, not just your aesthetics. I mean, your aesthetics are they are things that enhance your story, but they are not the main focus. So when I see people focus about getting the perfect logo and all of that, yeah, probably not. You can evolve all of those things with time. However, more focus needs to be paid on sharing your story, what makes you unique, your unique selling point. Now, what is that story about you that you can put forward and people can connect with? That is what I think builds a strong brand. And as someone who is currently building their personal brand online, that is what I've been paying attention to, trying to put my own story, my experiences. We all come from different parts of the world. We have our unique stories, cultures, background. And as someone who is from Nigeria and I have my own culture, I think it is good for me to integrate it in my own brand, right? That's what makes me unique. And that it makes me different from maybe someone from India, someone from United States, or someone from Mexico. People don't buy fancy labels, colors, or packaging, right? Even though that enhances like your product, right? It makes it appealing. However, I think people more or less like are drawn to the story behind the brand. Now, I reflect back on my childhood days, like when I used to see the Pepsi drink, the advertisements online. I remember I would see like celebrities like Messi, Ronaldinho, and a couple of football stars, right? Now, there was a story there, like it drew me to wanting to crave or to crave Pepsi. And after watching that advert, I felt like drinking Pepsi. Now, that's the same thing, right? People should feel drawn to you, connect to you, and after that, they are compelled to either take an action or not. That's if your personal story connects with them. And in my opinion, I think that's what personal branding is. It's not something that you go copy and paste, it is something that you tap from within. So if you're someone just like me trying to build your personal brand online, I think you should search within first before you start copying what other people have. I mean, there's that idea of maybe modeling or having like a mentor, maybe someone who you look up to. Yes, but before you start copying that person, I think it is better you have your own story figured out so that when you're trying to probably copy their aesthetics, you can know how to, fit in your own story and make your own unique brand so you don't look like the same person. Think about it this way: your brand is what builds trust with other people. Now, it is your silent introduction. Maybe someone is trying to refer you and they might give the person your social media handle, right? And then the person who is trying to maybe hire you or buy from you, they will go to your social media and sieve through like your your brand, your page, and see your story there. And now, if they are drawn and if they are convinced, and then they buy from you. Now, I'll share a story. The other day, I was at a co-working space that I usually go to work at, and then a lady walked up to me and was like, "Hey, I always see you with cameras. What do you do?" And I told her I was like a content creator and a coach, a video coach, right? And she was like, "Oh, that's cool. Can I see your stuff?" And then I popped up my phone and I showed her my Instagram. And one thing that fascinated me was she watched, after watching the first video she saw, which she was impressed with, the next thing she did was she started sliding through and going down. Now, for me, I was thinking, okay, why is she scrolling down? And then I think it dawned on me that she was trying to see if I was consistent enough. That's the next point we'll be discussing: consistency. Now, you need to be consistent with your brand, your story, and even putting out yourself. You need to do it for a long period of time before people can trust you. You don't just show up whenever you want to show up. You have to, work out a plan that works for you. Now, you have to do it over a long period of time and consistently show up in the same way. Now, you can choose whatever format or whatever platform works for you, but have a platform where you can be consistent. Now, for me, I chose YouTube and Instagram. Now, I haven't been consistent on YouTube for a long while, but I decided that if I want people to trust me, I need to show up every week. And that's why we're here together today. Now, I'm trying to build this brand because I need people to see who I am and get to know what it is that I do. And same thing on Instagram. I try to be consistent also so that people can connect more with me. And when people are able to connect with you and see that you have a track record, they trust you more. They know that you're not going to probably run away with their money if you had a course and they wanted to sign up with you. They don't think that you're someone who's going to mislead them or give them false ideas, because they see that you're consistent. And if people can read that you're consistent enough, they would buy whatever it is, or even, tap into your story and become followers, fans, or whatever you call it. If you're a business owner or an entrepreneur, I would recommend you start building your personal brand using video. I say this because think back to the days where your parents would tell you stories, or your grandparents, folk tales, and all of those things. You would always use your imagination to try to put the story together. But now technology has made it easy for everyone who has a cell phone or a camera to just, tell their story now without you having to read like a long blog post or like a write up and try to imagine it. Now, don't get me wrong, blog posts are still cool and interesting. However, these days, people just want to see the story unfolding. And if you're an entrepreneur, it's very easy for you to just connect with your audience or your customers using visuals. Now, think about like the entrepreneurs who you look up to. Why do you look up to them? Because you're able to see them visually through probably YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, or whatever platform. So I would say just pick a platform as a business owner and focus on it. Like YouTube. Now, YouTube is, I think, one of the platforms I think business owners can utilize. Why? Because it's a long form content platform, and you cannot fake it for over an hour or for over like 20 minutes, 30 minutes. People would connect with you more on this platform because they see you show up authentically. Now, not like in Instagram or other short form contents, because they know that's more polished and all of that. But here, you show up and this is all of you. You can't, fake it for like more than 20, 30 minutes, right? The true you will really show up. And if you're someone who is trying to connect authentically with people, I would recommend using YouTube. Let's talk about some common mistakes I see people trying to make while building their personal brand. The first thing is jumping on every trend over clarity. Now, what do I mean by that is, if you're someone who's always jumping on the next trend, probably to try to attract more customers for yourself, I think that's the wrong strategy, because you might attract the wrong clients. Why? Because you're putting out different personalities every time there's a new trend. Now, one way to go about this is clearly define who you're called to serve. who are the people that you want to serve and what is it that you have for them. If you're able to define those two things, then you can probably apply trends to help enhance your story. But don't use trends to be as your number one strategy, because trust me, you would attract the wrong clients. So choose clarity over trends. The second mistake I see people trying to make is over polishing their image and not living up to the expectation. Now, because we live in a very social media driven world, you see people tend to like want to put a polished version of themselves every time. Now, the disadvantage about that is when people come to meet you in real life and you don't look like that or don't even match up what it is that you portray yourself to be, there's a disconnect. And the moment they see that, yeah, you lose their trust, right? And they won't buy from you anymore. And you know what? They will go tell other people, and those other people will tell other people. So my advice to you as an entrepreneur or business owner is try to be authentic. Start from where you are. Don't over expand who you are not. Don't try to portray who you're not. Just start with whatever you are. People would even connect with you more when they know that you're growing. Now, for me, I am growing. I am currently trying to build my personal brand. I'm not trying to show myself as someone who has already made it. I'm still on the journey, right? And I hope one day I will get there. And people also would emulate what it is that I am doing. Now, it will be forced for me to show some fake lifestyle, and then when you meet me in person, I can't own up to that. Now, the other mistake I think people always make is thinking personal brand is tied to visuals. Now, like I said, visuals are good. They help enhance your story. However, if you have a bad story but good visuals, people will still not connect. Now, think about it. Maybe you've gone to the movie theater and you've seen a movie. It had good visuals, probably good stars, but the story just sucked so bad. Yeah, that's how personal brand is when it's heavily dependent on just visuals. Now, like nice aesthetics, but what your content or your story has no depth, people would click off quickly. Now, what you might want to do is let the content of what it is you're about match the production value. And I think that's the best way for you to portray yourself. Now, one of my mentors says this very well. He says, how people receive you is how they perceive you. Now, if people are able to perceive you as someone of value, they will receive you very well. So rather than focusing on like the crispy video without valuable content, I would say focus on having good content and then let your production value match that. Let's talk about how to build a personal brand that stands out. Now, whether you're starting or you're just someone who is looking to level up what they already have, here are 3 steps that I use currently to elevate my own personal brand. Now, the first thing I'll say is clarity. You need to get clear and very specific to who it is you're trying to help. Now, this was something I struggled with while I started. I was creating content, just putting out videos, and truly no one was responding. I wasn't getting engagement, and it got me frustrated. And quite honestly, I was, getting tired of this whole, circle of putting out stuff and no engagement. Now, I had to learn the hard way through pain, but you don't have to, And one way I'll, suggest how you can discover who it is you're called to serve is think about the previous version of yourself, like 3 to 5 year old version of yourself, like the person who was ignorant, the version of you who was clueless about what to do. Now that you know better, you're a chapter ahead of such a person, so you can help such people think about what you know right now and how it can be valuable to somebody. And now, another way you can also find out who you're called to serve is just use a poll, like conduct a poll on Instagram or whatever your favorite social media platform is. Put out a poll and ask people, what are you struggling with? And then give them different options. And then they can pick and then you pick from the highest whatever topic it is that most people chose, and then you can find that as a talking point for yourself, or even how to build your own product, and you know how to serve people better. Now, when you're able to discover that, it helps you to get consistent with your messaging, help you to show up even consistently online. Now, that's the second point: consistency. Consistency is something that you need to build. You need to build consistency over a long period of time, and that's how you gain trust. Now, when I was able to identify who it was that I was called to serve, it helped me to consistently create content. Now, I don't struggle with trying to find ideas because I already know who I am called to serve. I know what their pain points are, and I try to address it using my content. So if you're able to get clear on who you're called to serve, then it will help you to build consistency. The last point here is connection. You need to build connection with your audience. Now, this is about the most important one out of the three that I've mentioned. Why is this so very important? Because when people feel like they can connect with you or can reach you, they feel more drawn to you. Now, think about it. If you left a comment in someone's video and they personally reach out to you and say thank you, how would you feel? You would feel very happy, right? That's the same way. So if people leave, a comment or a like in your post or whatever it is, just take out time and just randomly say, hey, thank you for reaching out, or thank you for commenting. And you can even ask them, how are you doing? It just makes them feel seen and heard, and it takes the connection level to another stage, and they feel more drawn to you. Now, another thing I'll suggest is post behind the scenes. You can show people like your process. If you're a coach, if you're an artist or a musician, whatever it is that you're doing, a business owner, show people behind the scenes. When people see your process, they'll feel like, oh, we are part of this journey together. Remember the movie example I used. Why you are drawn to the protagonist in the movie is because you feel like you're going through that adventure with them. Your story becomes relatable and you want to see them win. That's the same way when you show people your process, they want to see you win. So normalize sharing your behind the scenes. Don't always want to show up too glamorous. Sometimes just show them how you get into the dirt, to show them the refined process. And that's what I do in my own personal brand or my social media. I try to show people my behind the scenes. So there you go. Here are the steps that I'm using currently to elevate my own personal brand. I hope you found value in what I shared, and if you did, I would love to encourage you to like and subscribe. And you can also recommend this video to someone who you also know might benefit from it. Thank you, and see you next time.